I am not comfortable with people using peptides without guidance, not because they're bad, but because they're powerful. And powerful tools used in the wrong hands, in the wrong body, at the wrong time, don't give you better results, right? Hey there, I'm Bria, and welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. If you're over 35 and ready for real answers about your hormones, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and stay with us. Hey, sister. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. I am Bria, your host, the Period Whisperer, here to help you better understand the messages of your body, especially in perimenopause and menopause. And we get to do that through hormones and just through fun conversations like this. Now, we are in the midst of our mini series of May all about peptides. And I have done a couple of these, so you can always go back in the show and see a couple other months that I've really dove into peptides. And it will be a topic that I continue to talk about. Why? Because they are exploding everywhere, which can be a good thing, but also the challenge of things exploding everywhere, just like when perimenopause finally got started and being talked about in our social media, the information becomes overwhelming. It becomes confusing. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And what I have really come to learn as a practitioner with my own integrity is the importance of sharing as accurate of information as I can for you and really to cut through the noise so that you don't have to figure that out. I will come to you in your specialty when I need your help. I promise you. I count on that. And I hope that you will lean on practitioners like myself who have real world experience, have education and science background to be able to teach you this. So my whole goal is in this mini series is really to help you deepen your understanding about the opportunity of peptides, also about the things you need to be aware of. So I'm glad you are here. I am hoping today that you, at the very least, are feeling hope in your body. But if you are feeling very frustrated in your body, if you aren't sleeping, if you're stuck, if you're frustrated, there are so many episodes here for you to lean on. You can also always swipe up, book a free call with me so I can help give you a bit of a blueprint, help you understand if functional lab work is going to give you the answers that you need. So, spoiler alert, probably it is. Because when we look under the hood, that's when we really find where our custom blueprint is for us, right? Because I think we've all spent decades as women following protocols that were not customized to us. And of course, youth is like a bit of a buffer. It allows and accommodates for some of that. But as we reach our wisest time in life, as we reach a time where we are at full capacity, we don't have wiggle room for generic cookie cutter things. And I think we're all starting to realize this, right? That the irritation of perimenopause is and the rub of it and also the gift of it is that it's demanding we look deeper and connect with what our body is saying to us. We can no longer do what our neighbor is doing, our best friend is doing, our best friend's cousin, our aunt, our mom. We have to look more deeply inside so that we can heal kind of the imbalances that have been created in the first 4 to 5 decades of our life and get to a place in our body where we know how to communicate with her and also help her feel her best, which I fundamentally believe is possible for every woman. I think women are absolute magic. I think the gift of perimenopause and menopause, the other gift of it is that this is a time where we are about to be no longer hormonally hijacked every single month, which means you get access to you all of the time. And we want to make sure you is good. You know what I'm saying? So, last week we talked about why peptides might not be working for you, or worse, why they might actually be making things harder. And if this episode hit a nerve, good. That means you're paying attention. And I'm glad to hear that because today I want to give you the roadmap, the order that actually makes peptides work for you, peptides available for you. Recap, peptides are like little messengers in our body and that tell the cells, tell the things, tell us what to do, like things like healing, repair, satiation, fat loss, libido getting in check, mental clarity. It really connects message to message receiver, messenger to message receiver. And of course, when we go through longer periods of chronic stress, or perhaps we've had injury or surgery, or perhaps we have had, some major gut dysbiosis or picked up a parasite or, had an actual diagnosable condition, this type of stress inside of the body, wear and tear, just breaks down that communication. And that is where peptides have really come to shine. Next week I will also talk about kind of what we're seeing, with the FDA, what's actually going on. But I want to talk to you about the order that makes them available to your body to work, not the internet version, not the just take this and hope for the best, or it worked for my friend, or it worked for this person version. The real sequence that I use with my clients that actually gets them results that last. And I'm also going to be very honest about something that might be unpopular. And I will be more specific, but I'll just breeze over it right now, the intro. I am not comfortable with people using peptides without guidance. Not because they're bad, but because they're powerful. And powerful tools used in the wrong hands, in the wrong body, at the wrong time don't give you better results, right? They actually give your body more confusion, or they come at a cost, right? So let's walk through today in this short solo cast episode how to do this right. So the first one I want to drive home, kind of segment one of this, is why order matters more than the tool. Here's one of the biggest misunderstandings I see right now. People think that the thing they're taking is the problem, like oh, I'm taking this peptide, it doesn't work for me. Or they think it's the solution. I'm taking the peptide, it's the reason I feel so good. But it's actually not. It's the order. You can take the best peptide in the world with the most research and the most proven results. But if your body isn't in a place where it's going to respond, it's like trying to build muscle on no sleep, no protein, and a stressed out nervous system. The tool isn't broken, the environment is. Really going to drive home this point of thinking of peptides as the icing on top of your cupcake, the sprinkles, the cherry, the thing that makes it a muffin from a muffin to a cupcake, right? Which, you know, we're all not eating a whole pile of sugar these days. But if I was going to choose a dessert, it would definitely be a cupcake over a muffin. And we can give other examples if cupcakes and muffins aren't your thing. Anyway, I want to give you a three-phase framework, okay? Because I think the more we're clear in our minds of how things go, if we can really simplify this for you, step one, step two, step three, I think it's going to make it a lot easier. Before we touch hormones, like hormone replacement therapy, before we even think about peptides, we build a body that can actually respond. Most of the challenges that I see with my clients coming to me is the communication, the response, the mechanism inside the body that is not functioning properly. So this is why hormone replacement therapy isn't working for them, or it's causing them more problems. This is why peptide therapy isn't working for them, or it's causing more problems. This is why working out isn't working for you, or it's causing you more problems. This is why fasting or dieting, these are all tools that can be used and very valuable for us, but they are tools that must be built after this initial step, right? After we built a body that can actually respond. So, what does that even mean? What does that even look like? Number one, we need to build blood sugar regulation. Stable energy equals stable hormones, right? Blood sugar regulation prevents cortisol spikes and crashes. So, how you know if you have blood sugar instability is some common signs are you get hangry, or you are so full and then so hungry, or you can't sleep through the night, or you have major energy drops in the afternoon, or maybe you are exhausted in the morning, or maybe you're not even hungry until noon. These are some common signs of blood sugar dysregulation. Of course, you can get a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, to actually tell you what your blood sugar is doing, which is super cool. But if you just want to recognize it in yourself, think about your energy. Do you have stable energy? Do you have consistent, I like to call it clean energy, where you're not like hyper half the day and then like tanked half the day, right? We want to have stable, consistent energy throughout the day. We want to eat, feel energy from that food, not feel like an energy drop from that food. This is indicative of stable blood sugar. And I think along with that, we have to make sure we are considering protein and fiber intake, right? We are drastically eating not enough protein, not enough fiber. And I will speak for a brief moment. Although I think most men like midlife women are not eating enough of either of those things. I do think we're becoming more and more aware as women of eating enough protein. However, we still have to listen to what our body says to us in terms of if I have 30 grams of protein at breakfast, how long does that keep me full and satisfied for versus 20 versus 40? So we still want to do a bit of self experimentation. And if you're having any gut or digestive issues, sometimes we are not breaking down our protein properly. There's a marker on the Dutch test that I love to run for all my clients called indican, which is basically an off gas that is created when protein doesn't get broken down properly and ferments, and it can be measured in urine. So we can very quickly see if you're not breaking down your protein properly. But you will also know if you are starting to increase your protein and suddenly you're a lot more gassy and bloated. Time to go deeper, time to look into that gut. But like I said, most women are drastically under eating protein and under eating fiber, right? This impacts digestion, detoxification, muscle, metabolism, recovery, hormone signaling, hormone detoxification, right? Our ability to just poop. All of these things are really important. So we want to be thinking, and again, I really hate throwing out exact numbers, but I want to give you somewhere to target for. So, like, aim for 100 grams of protein, aim for 35 to 45 grams of fiber per day. Know that how much activity you have, how much muscle you have, the state of your gut is going to impact whether that number is accurate for you. But pick a number, start there, and then listen to what your body is saying. Okay, number 3, I do feel strongly in all bodies that one of our foundations is functional movement, right? I sit in front of a computer a lot of the day talking to my clients, looking at lab work, researching, doing this podcast. I know a lot of you out there also have very sedentary jobs. We have to move our body. Even if you don't have a sedentary job, maybe if you're someone who's doing rounds a lot, walking all over the place, on your feet all the time, we still have to be aware of the fact that we're moving in one plane of movement at all times. So whether you sit around like I do or whether you are walking a lot in your career, we still need to functionally move your body around, move it in all of its planes of motion to release stress, to help with lymphatic drainage, just to basically move our body in the way it was meant to be moved, right? 30, 40 years ago, we didn't have this kind of sedentary work for most people. Most of us were moving around a lot more. And this has created imbalances and problems and stuckness in our body and therefore our hormones. So, first and foremost, it is really important that you are moving enough. For most people, that looks like 7 to 10,000 steps each day if we want to quantify it. But I also feel very strongly about stretching, mobility work, yoga, if you want to, whatever you prefer to call it, whatever works best for you, 2 to 3 times a week, making sure you're moving your body, expanding your body in different ways. That's like bare bones. That's your, core ingredient of your health. On top of that, I think it's really critical to do strength training, especially if you are using peptides like GLP-1s or, where we're pushing the body to lose weight. We have to maintain that muscle. So as long as you are not exhausted from your workout, right? If you work out, if you're weight training in the morning and by afternoon you are tanked, that's a clear sign that you do not have the energy to be working out, to be strength training right now. So you're wasting your time. Likewise, if you're waking up in the morning without energy, if you are dragging yourself through the day, if you're working out and not getting results, if you can't sleep through the night, all big reasons we need to look under the hood. We need to better understand where your adrenals are at, where your cortisol is at, and how to coach that function back up for you so that you can get back to getting the best results that you deserve from your strength training, because it is a non-negotiable in midlife for us. It is what's going to protect your body and also give it that tone that I know you want. It's going to help you feel bouncier. It's going to help you get out of bed easier. It's going to help you feel better in your clothes, right? It is the signal for metabolism, for insulin sensitivity, for body composition, for hormones as we get older. Things like GLP-1s without lifting weights is not a strategy. It's a setup for failure. So these are really important pieces of the foundational puzzle, but they have disclaimers to them, right? Can't work out if we're not sleeping, can't work out if we're not eating enough, right? So we still have to have these kindergarten steps that we do first. So let's work on the sleep. If you can't sleep, time to look deeper. Let's work on the nutrition. If you can't seem to figure it out, time to look deeper. Let's get that walking and functional movement in and then layer in your weight training. Can't do it, not working for you, time to look deeper, right? But there's options here. Before you go digging around or even reaching out for more help, you can do these basic pieces. Number four, foundations, you hear me talk about this all the time, is minerals and hydration, right? Minerals and hydration, like, first of all, just general flow. Our body is meant to flow, our blood, our hormones, our oxygen. We need hydration to move things through our body, get the toxins out, right? So it's also so beneficial for nervous system support, adrenal support, cellular communication. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I am absolutely obsessed with Beam Minerals, BEAM, Beam Minerals. Yes, you can go check them out. Use Bria as a discount code if you want to try them. I think they're for everyone. I encourage all my clients to get on them. I'm obsessed. But if you are working out, on top of that, you might need an additional electrolyte depending on where you live into this world. We don't really know until we go a little bit deeper. But minerals and hydration, drinking enough non caffeinated fluids throughout the day is so critical for basic foundations of our health. And finally, of course, is sleep rhythm. If your sleep is off, everything is off, right? Hormones do not regulate in chaos, period, end of story. So, what I like to think about with sleep, because it can be really anxiety driving to try to hold on to sleep, like trying to squeeze water or sand in your hands, it'll just slip right through, right? So, if you are creating the habit for sleep, right? You have a nice wind down, like teach my body it's safe, calming routine, not staring at your phone or watching scary things to drive up that cortisol at night. And you're in that bed for 8 hours, and then you're waking up around the same time every day, maybe getting a bit of sunlight in your eyes, drinking your greens, drinking your bean minerals, and you are still waking up multiple times a night or one time and can't get back to sleep, time to look deeper. Okay, those are your key elements to know, okay, it is time for me to prioritize myself because things are not going to get better until we fix and solidify. These are your foundations, these are your kindergarten basics. We cannot move on to middle school if we haven't mastered these basics, right? So those are your five foundational pieces kind of in step one. And this phase alone changes a lot for most women. And it's the phase that I think a lot of us try to skip, or we try to shortchange ourselves. Oh, this one doesn't matter. This one doesn't matter. They matter. They really matter. When we look to the blue zones of the world, what are some of the things that they have in place? They have daily sunshine. They have, sleep that isn't interrupted by lots of different things. They have whole, real food that they eat consistently in a rhythm. They have pleasure and joy and stress management, all of these things. Okay. The next step that we have to look at, right, is always going to be, now that we have our foundations in place, it's always going to be data and hormones, right? Once the foundation is in place, now we look under the hood. And if you're someone like me who wants to feel like an 8 out of 10 at all times, like my sister and I were just having a conversation on the weekend because I do like to drink and have wine here and there, or cocktails here and there. We were talking about how we've noticed more and more that, like, it better be worth it to be having cocktails or drinks, because I definitely notice the energy lag in my body the next day, like, just not being able to operate at that capacity. And that's starting to irritate me more and more as I get older, where I'm like, no, 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 no. I have too much I want to do, too much that feeds my soul, too much that makes me so happy, and too much I want to go after and experience in this life to have want energy. So I think it's important to start to know your body. And if you're someone like me who wants to feel that way, like feel like an 8 to a 10 at all times, and feeling less than an 8 is annoying you. If you're feeling less than an 8 right now, it is time for data, hands down. If you are feeling like an 8 and you want to feel like an 8 to a 10 always, I would be running your own functional labs, or you working with a practitioner to do it at least once a year. That's what I do for myself. I like to look under the hood because I don't want to wait until my engine light comes on. I need to get this engine, this beautiful engine in for proper checkups to make sure that, we don't have breakdowns when I'm on the highway. It actually maybe is a better example. It's like going to the dentist, right? I used to hate going to the dentist. And of course, the longer you wait to go to the dentist, the worse the dental appointment is, the more scraping they have to do on the plaque, the more cavities you probably have to go. Maybe you have to have a root canal because you've left it so long. We don't want that. No, 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 no. There is no time for that in midlife. So I am now regimented about going to my dentist every 6 to 9 months. And I think the same about my actual physical body. I want to go in, I want to know what's coming down the pipeline. I want to know if there's an area that I'm not brushing clean enough. This is what we learn about when we're looking deeply, even when we feel really great. So you hear me talk about this all the time, but my three favorite labs always to be running for women in midlife, or kind of as a nice generic look. There's way more labs we can run. And we can always go deeper should we need, but a nice, well-rounded, like general, like look at everything, that might be coming down the pipeline is going to be your Dutch testing, your dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. It's your cortisol pattern, which is huge. It's your cortisol clearance, like free and metabolized, which we can only get in urine. It is your sex hormones and how they're balanced. And more importantly, how they're clearing, whether you're on birth control still or not, whether you are on hormone replacement therapy or not. We have to know how your hormones are clearing in your body. It's 80% of the problems, I'm telling you. We need to know your nervous system tone, right? If your cortisol is dysregulated, your body is not in a position to respond well to peptides. If you are having, liver clearance issues or liver congestion or poor metabolization of your sex hormones, we can also choose to use peptides specifically to help with that. So we can actually not, it's not only about we have to do this data to get the most out of your peptide, but it's also let's do the data to choose the best peptide for you, right? To know what you're going to invest your money in is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Otherwise, it's no different than buying, supplements off of Instagram in the middle of the night, which, yes, I have done multiple times in my life. We don't know if they're going to work. You're just spending money in a desperate moment, right? We don't want that. We don't want, I want you to be living smarter, not working harder in your life. The other lab that I'm always loving is a GI map, right? We're looking at, that deep rooted, map of your gut, your good bacteria, your bad bacteria. Like, how are you actually creating stomach acid? Do you have enough? Are you breaking things down? Is there an imbalance there? Is there fungus and yeast or parasites? How's the inflammation, right? Because gut infections, inflammation, immune system activation, or a low immune system, or a poor mucosal barrier, all of this is going to cause issues for you, especially if you're looking at doing a GLP-1 peptide, which are, of course, the most commonly used peptides because we are all obsessed with losing weight. If your gut is inflamed, you're running an inflammatory load. Peptides won't fix that. They're not going to fix that. And there is a peptide that can be super helpful if you have a weakened mucosal barrier, if we need to bring balance and healing to your gut. But we want to know what's the best peptide for you. So that's where I think this is so, so powerful and helpful. And finally, I always love running some more deeper blood work. We want to see how your homocysteine and your methylation is. How are your liver enzymes? How are all of your minerals, like your full iron panel? How's your full thyroid? When we look at everything together, we get a great big picture of kind of where the leaks are, right? And instead of just poking one leak with one finger and it's spouting out another like cartoons when we were kids. Now all of a sudden we get to stop it and heal it from the inside out, which is what we want to do. We want to get this done right. Short-term pain for long-term gain. It's like one of my favorite mantras. So just remember here in phase two, is that low cortisol can't mobilize energy, right? High cortisol means burnout and poor recovery. Gut dysfunction means poor absorption and systemic stress, right? This is where we stop guessing and start understanding why your body is here in the first place. Otherwise, if we go out and take peptides and we don't know why we're here in the first place, it's no different than just taking any random medication just to fix the symptom. You're trying to fix a symptom, but you're not fixing the root cause of the problem. And I know you're smarter than that. Okay, here's where I think I am going to insert my own opinion as a practitioner, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but I will tell you right now, I'm not a super black and white person. I do live in a very gray area of like, what is, I can often see this side, I can often see that side. You're very rarely going to hear me say, this is awful, this is the best, this is right, and this is wrong. I will often like to share what I think is the best way, but I won't necessarily say right and wrong. But I'm gonna draw a bit of a line here for us. I am not super comfortable with DIY peptides. I want and I think this matters because I know that right now peptides are accessible everywhere, especially in the US. It is so easy to buy peptides and then also self-dose those peptides. And I think it's really amazing that we do have the opportunity to use tools that, frankly, do have very few side effects, unless they are misused and abused, as all people do with things, right? Anything we do too much of or incorrectly will cause problems. But incorrect dosing, many peptides don't cause many side effects, which is wonderful to know. However, that being said, they are being talked about everywhere. I know people are experimenting with them on their own, and I get it, but I'm not comfortable with just buying peptides without practitioner support or using peptides without practitioner support, unless you are someone who has looked at the data, who knows your body, who really does the research and understands and wants to take that risk. Not because peptides are dangerous when used correctly, but because most people don't actually know the body that they're putting them into. This is the challenge, right? You don't know what your cortisol pattern looks like. You don't know what your gut is doing. You don't know what your hormones are doing, what your body actually needs. Plus, there are contraindications with certain medications and peptides. So, that is a really important reason why you would use a practitioner to know these things. Using the wrong peptide for your physiology is going to cause problems or at best do nothing. Layering it on top of dysfunction. This is why we do the foundations first. We want to end the data. We've got to heal that dysfunction first before we do that. Using peptides without support might mean that you're just going to be masking symptoms instead of fixing them. You might, at best case scenario, you will waste a lot of money and maybe you'll just get partial results. And then you might blame yourself or you blame the peptide when really it was about the pathway, the support, the understanding. This isn't about gatekeeping. It's about getting it right. And I have even had a few clients that just haven't had as great of results from their peptides as we expected. And we've had to go digging deeper to understand what's going on. What are we missing here? And not that every peptide is right for everybody, even if their body is in a great place. There are going to be peptides that work better for some people than others because we are all different. But it's important to know the body you're putting it in, right? If you're going to invest in something powerful, why wouldn't you also invest in knowing exactly how to use it? So important, right? And it's funny that I say this because I definitely own an iPhone and I definitely know that there's 100,000 features on it that I don't know how to use. And maybe I could pay someone to teach me, but I do think when it comes to our health, it's a little different, right? We don't want to mess with the one body. I can buy another iPhone. I cannot buy another body, right? These are really important pieces. Okay. So, this is where peptides shine, right? I want you to think of them not as the first step, but as an accelerator. What they can do when used correctly is speed up healing, improve recovery, enhance metabolic function, support your brain and your mood, reduce inflammation, improve libido, help with detoxification, help you lose weight, right? Help you build muscle. There's so many amazing peptides out there that can help a lot, right? The difference isn't the peptide and whether it works for you or not, it is the timing. So, I want to do just a little elephant in the room reality check because what I am still seeing out in the world are women losing weight, also losing muscle, not eating enough, like maybe not eating even for the first half of the day. And they're like, oh, I'm not hungry, you know? And then they, eat dinner and then they go to bed and they're still losing weight, but they're really losing muscle at the same time. So then what happens? We get stuck on that peptide forever and it might not work at some point. So then you go off the peptide and all of a sudden we gain weight because now our metabolism has been slowed down. No, GLP-1s can be very supportive, especially in a microdose for people. If you are someone who is having metabolic issues, like many midlife women, and we've done this functional work and we've done the underlying foundations and we have dug into the data and we know everything is optimized, but we're stuck in a bit of metabolic freeze, like that communication isn't happening. I see amazing things for my clients and gives them a lot of relief with just a tiny little microdose. And I also see them come off that tiny little microdose and maintain those results and feel great. You will not maintain results if you are not following this framework of foundations, look under the hood, and if you're misusing the product specifically. And I just think that's so important. We cannot just use it as a quick band-aid fix. It has to be supported by supporting your whole metabolism, eating enough, sleeping properly, eliminating garbage food and garbage alcohol, and properly lifting weights to support your body and your metabolism long term, right? Muscle equals metabolism. If you lose your muscle, you're going to have a slower metabolism, and then you're going to have to stay on your GLP-1 forever or you will rebound. And I think that is one of the biggest fears that people have. If you do it right, you should only need to use it for 3 to 6 months, in my opinion, especially as most women that come to me, not like they have a pile of weight to lose, nothing's working. So we want to use all peptides, not just the GLP-1s, the healing peptides, the cognitive peptides, the growth hormone releasing peptides. We want to be able to use any of the peptides that work for us without them becoming a long-term problem. Okay. That was a lot of information today. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. Peptides do not replace the work. They reward it. They reward your work. I love when I hear my clients say, oh my gosh, I finally feel like I'm getting the results that I deserve from all of my efforts in that foundation piece, right? In the foundation piece. That's our effort. This is the icing on the cake, right? They are not the starting point, they are the accelerator. And when you use them in the right order, that's when things start to feel easy again at any age, at any age. And that's when your body actually responds. So, if you're listening to this and realizing, okay, I might be skipping steps or I've been using peptides but not getting results, this is exactly where we slow things down and get strategic like the CEO of your body. You can swipe up, click the link, book a call with me, go to the website. You can book it there as well. And we'll look at where your body is at, what it's missing, and what actually makes sense for you. All right, sister. In the next episode, we're going to break down the peptides that actually work. We're going to talk about some nuances that we're seeing, in the world with the FDA, what to expect, why we got here with peptides, why some are hush hush and some are not, and which peptides I think are working the best for my clients because not all peptides are created equal and not all of them are right for you. I want you to have the most amazing day. Thank you so much for being here. Go out, be more in your life and not just less on a scale, and we'll catch you in the next episode. If you're 35 plus and ready to stop guessing, start understanding your hormones, and feel your absolute best, hit subscribe. That's what we do here.